I was watching the news and even looking into my headphones for this. Looking into the story of this craft, this joke of a craft that was sent miles and miles underwater to investigate the sinking of the Titanic many years ago. Many years ago. You're dealing with, excuse me for a second. You're dealing with some really proud ass people, man. Proud. And a lot of it is just in a lot of them is just seeking fame, fortune, money. Yeah. But we're dealing with some very, very proud people, man. And, it's just a waste of life. But that's the nature of Esau. Esau being so-called Europeans. That's just how they operate. That's just how they move and get down. And when you go into detail as far as the vessel's concerned, how it was designed, it was crap. It was a piece of crap. And the Canadian government, they speaking out against it. And various people are speaking out against it. One of the, I think he was a designer. He was totally against this vessel going underwater. Totally against it. He said it wasn't safe. In other words, it didn't pass the inspection. They fired that guy immediately. Immediately they fired this guy. Look at this thing. It's a joke, man. Goddamn joke. But it's Esau's. That's made me scared to go on Caribbean cruise or Royal Caribbean anymore now. But hey, man, the Most High, he does what he wants to do. Bottom line. Let me get rid of this. I get rid of that. Get rid of that. Close that. But look at this thing, man. And they were trying to do their best to get to them, and it was a done deal. I heard it was deceased or deleted or taken off this earth, this planet, way before the air ran out. That's what I heard. But pride is a hell of a thing, man. Pride is a hell of a thing, This is the rescue attempt. But look how this thing was piloted. They used a video game joystick to maneuver this vessel. Yeah. That's what they used. That's how stupid they were. Check it out. See if we get past this part. That's what they did. They used a video game to maneuver around this thing. Check it out.
Controller. Using components bought from Camping World, and there were questions about its safety rating.
Just seemed a bit shoddy. OceanGate shouldn't have been doing what it was doing.
This is really focused on one thing, and that's the pressure vessel, and making sure that component, which is clearly the most critical component of the sub, is safe.
But 5 Titanic tourists paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to descend 12,500 feet in the Titan submarine. Now the remains of the sub have been found, and questions are being asked by experts who raised safety concerns about the OceanGate vessel were apparently ignored. One of the engineers was fired after voicing his concerns. One man refused to ride the sub after seeing how it was built, and one man who actually did ride it described his voyage to a newspaper as suicide. These are all the potential...
See, Esau will do anything for fame, fortune, and money. He even fired people who was against the voyage. Even fired them. But now the truth is coming out. Stupid way to die. Stupid way to die. Check it out again.
Ignored. One of the engineers was fired after voicing his concerns. One man refused to ride the sub after seeing how it was built, and one man who actually did ride it described his voyage to a newspaper as suicide. These are all the potential concerns that could have led to disaster. OceanGate, the company which owned the sub, said on its website that it was a mixture of bespoke engineering and off-the-shelf parts. They said this made the sub easy to fix, but the decision to use these components has now been called into question. David Pogue, a reporter who took a ride on the sub last year, reported it used lighting and handles bought from Camping World, and rusted scaffolding was used as ballast.
You get there and then you start seeing this stuff, and now your mood crashes and you get a little worried. Like, is this the level of polish and sophistication we're talking about?
A previous passenger described how to release the ballast. Passengers all had to move to one side of the vessel. Mr. Pogue described the craft as jerry-rigged, MacGyvered, and said a lot of the parts were less sophisticated than he expected, like the knockoff PlayStation controller used for steering. When Mr. Pogue challenged owner Stockton Rush over this, the OceanGate's...
Now who's this dumb? Who is that dumb to get on something like that? Unless you're proud, you're defiant against common sense, you're defiant against a chance that you're gonna die. Who's this dumb? But Esau is a rough dude, man. When you read the story of Esau and Jacob, it says that Jacob was a plain man, I believe, but Esau, he was a hunter. And the so-called Europeans, they have that nature. They like climbing buildings, they climb mountains. You see them in the wild with the animals. They constantly battling the animals.
Okay, you stop. You see the lion, you see?
Yep.
You see the lion? It's dead.
Do you know God is good? Yes, He is excellent. This trophy hunter was eaten alive by the brother of a lion he shot for Instagram photo. Instant karma is real. And this great news is coming from South Africa. Let's see the video.
So now let's watch.
Right.
Beautiful.
Oh, God.
This looks like his wife.
He's so big. Put the gun up. Look straight down here.
No, looks like
You're right,
a
let
male.
the camera around this out. Get a good view. Get a
Because
few shots here.
females mostly don't have
No, that's good. That was a really good shot, Princess. No, good. Best one we got all season.
Oh, really?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Now, at least 200 kgs.
I'm so happy for the lion. He did a good job.
Not so big now, eh? Okay. Right, okay.
And they said it's the greatest perfect dog all season. Statistically, it's not the first kill they have. Killed more animals like
Yeah.
Now see, watch.
Just take the candy, eh?
Watch.
Okay.
The lion's gonna come somewhere here.
Okay, stop.
Yep, the guy's gone.
that's a lion that's roaring and stuff like
Yeah, you see the lion.
that. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and woo, he's gone. He's done. The phone fell down.
Yes,
You see that. You see it all the time. But that's his nature, man. That's his nature. That's why, you know, anybody's spirit that's propelled to get in such a vehicle, you know, they can't be too normal. And, you know, this is just pure crazy. Look at this thing, man. Look at this thing. You just can't be too normal, you know? And he's not normal, man. This is not right, you know? Get it back up.
that his biggest fear was getting stuck and being unable to surface. Fears had been raised about the communications at least once before, after Titan went missing while Mr. Pogue was taking his voyage. The sub stopped responding to its support ship, got lost, was unable to find the Titanic wreck, and then went missing for 5 hours afterwards. Mr. Pogue said that there was talk at the time of adding an emergency beacon to the sub, but it seems this didn't happen. The sub is constantly plagued by mechanical problems, he added in TV interviews after the tragedy.
No safety.
The Titan operated in international waters, meaning it was outside the remit of government agencies. Mr. Pogue had to sign a waiver before getting on board, which said that the craft was experimental.
Unbelievable, man. But you know, again, that's the nature of Esau. So to get around, you know, the project being shut down, they chose to go in territory where, you know, the safety rules and regulations couldn't be challenged. But you know, I'm not surprised though, and this is where you have to know your limits. See, Esau, so-called Europeans, so-called white people, they don't know their limits, and this is why the Most High is not just mad with our people, but He's mad with all nations, because you have to know.
Cave exploring, also called spelunking or potholing, is a pastime made for risk-seeking adventurers who aren't afraid to trek through some of the darkest, most unmanageable places on Earth. Exploring a natural cave system and conquering its obstacles is just another exhilarating way for these adventurers to push their potential and feel closer to Mother Nature. But as with all dangerous hobbies, the chance of death is always looming, and whether novice or expert, the simplest mistake may just be your end. On November 24th, 2009, John Edward Jones was visiting family in Stansbury Park, Utah for Thanksgiving. The family decided to do some cave exploring like they used to when John was a kid. They chose a popular location they'd never been to before called Nutty Putty, which was named after the soft brown clay lining the cave's interior. Around 8 p.m., John entered the cave with 10 other friends and family members and began exploring a large chamber known as the Big Slide. Soon after, John and his brother Josh split from the group with 2 other friends to find a more challenging section of the cave called the Birth Canal. When the 4 decided to go separate ways to look for it, John picked a waist-high hole to explore and went in head first. He found no place big enough to turn his body around and leave the tunnel, so he kept going. John eventually saw a fissure that dropped nearly straight down in front of him, which may have appeared to widen out at the bottom, giving him a spot to turn around. Rescuers believe John sucked in his chest to investigate the fissure, sliding his torso over a lip of rock and down into the 10-inch wide side of the crevice. But when his chest expanded again, he was stuck. Instead of widening so John could get out, the crack grew smaller and all but closed. Struggling to free himself only made John slide deeper into an even tighter 8.5-inch wide section of the fissure. One arm pinned underneath him, the other forced backward by an outcropping of rock. His headlamp was also knocked off. When John's brother Josh heard his older brother was stuck, he made his way down the waist-high tunnel to help him. But after getting stuck himself in a section known as the corkscrew, and seeing how far his brother was wedged in the crevice, Josh knew they had a serious problem. John was almost completely upside down with only his feet and about 6 inches of his legs sticking out of the tight opening. Josh attempted to pull him out, but soon realized they would need help to free his brother. He told John he was calling for help, then made a friend stay with his brother as he made the journey out of the cave to alert emergency services. When he was sure help was on the way, Josh made his way back to where John was stuck and took the friend's place by his brother's side. The Mormon brothers passed the time by praying and talking about Josh's plans for the future. Just before midnight, over 3 hours after John had first gotten stuck, members of the rescue team began arriving. It took rescuers about 30 minutes to reach the tunnel where Jones was stuck. Around 12:30, rescue team volunteer member Susie Matola reached John and greeted him with, "Hi John, my name is Susie. How's it going?" John's reply sounded distant. "Hi, Susie. Thanks for coming, but I really want to get out." "Oh, no worries, John," she told him. You're going to be out of here lickety-split. As Susie analyzed the situation, though, she knew it was not going to be an easy task. The 6-foot, 200-pound Jones was encased upside down by a tight crevice, except for a small section of his legs and feet protruding out. The human body is designed to walk upright, and the heart works with the force of gravity, not against it. When rescuers told trauma physician Doug Murdoch that John was nearly upside down, he knew the trapped man didn't have much time. Being upside down, your body has to pump the blood out of the brain all the time, he said. Your body isn't set up to do that. The entire system starts to fail. Murdoch headed for the scene, knowing blood and fluids would be pooling in John's brain and lungs. His circulation would be slowing, capillaries leaking, and toxins building up in his blood. If the rescuers were to free John, those toxins could rush to his heart and kill him. There are very few studies about the long-term effects of being upside down, but Murdoch thought John might have 8 to 10 hours to live. They attempted to tie a rope around John's legs and pull him out, but the friction of the rope on the rocks of the cave walls was just too great. The small space they had to work with, and the depth that John was stuck, also made using big equipment impossible. Many chisels and a drill were used to widen parts of the cave. However, the smaller tools were not working fast enough. They then began constructing a pulley system out of climbing cams, but each trip into the tunnel to pass a piece of equipment took nearly an hour. The rescue team did their best to keep John comfortable by singing religious hymns and keeping conversation. But as the hours passed, rescuers began to hear John's voice grow nasally, and his breathing labored as fluids began to slowly fill his lungs. When they finally got the pulley system operational and began inching John out of the crevice, his feet hit the tunnel's low ceiling. With his heart struggling to pump blood into his legs, the contact made him scream in pain. That's when the rescuers came to a horrible realization. The angle of the tunnel meant they couldn't bend John's body backwards without likely breaking his legs. In his weakened state, the shock could kill him, and the cams anchoring the pulleys were slipping from their places on the cave walls. Around 24 hours later, they had made little progress, and John was beginning to have a very difficult time breathing. Over 100 men and women worked tirelessly to free John from his prison. Unfortunately, 27 hours into the rescue, Jones became unresponsive. Just before midnight on Wednesday, November 25th, John Jones was declared dead. The 26-year-old medical student left behind his wife Emily, a 1-year-old daughter named Elizabeth, and another child that was expected to be born in June of 2010. After his death, the Nutty Putty Cave was closed, and the entrance was eventually sealed with cement, with John's body still inside.
Your limits. I'm not saying that great things don't come out of exploring and taking chances. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that sometimes when greed and money and fame and fortune and pride are the elements of your endeavors or your travels or you exploring things or just going out and seeing things, I think that's a recipe for disaster. In this case, the death of 5 different people. 5 different people. And when you get to the root of the matter, it's a joke, man. When you look at what's going on with these guys, it turned out to be a damn joke, and the Most High kills and destroys who he wants to kill and destroy. That's why I got this scripture up here. I'm not going to be long. I'm under the weather, man. I feel terrible. But the Most High says in 1 Samuel 2, verse 9, it says, and it's a little off topic, but at the same time it makes sense. It kind of aligns with death, destruction, and protection of the Most High. It says, he will keep the feet of his saints, meaning the Most High. He will keep the feet of his saints. Your feet is used to keep you stable. Your feet is they're used to maintain you, even in certain cases to defend you. But your feet is your foundation. When you slip, that's a tragedy, and that's of the Most High. When you fall and lose your footing, that's a judgment of the Most High. But your feet can represent who you are and how strong you are. And that's what the Most High says, that he destroys the foundation of a particular person or a nation because that's your feet. And in this case, the Most High says he will keep the feet of the saints, which are the Israelites, so-called Negroes and Hispanics, the Most High's chosen people. He will keep the feet of the saints. Then the Most High says, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness. See that? So the wicked that has ruled this earth and thinks that he's God, because that's the problem. The rulers that be or that have the power right now, they think that they're the Most High. They think they're beyond the Most High. This is why they take the Bible out of the schools. This is why they break and encourage people to think in the mindset that the laws of the Most High are outdated or the Most High doesn't exist. This is why they push things such as the Big Bang Theory, and they try to convince people that the Most High doesn't exist, because now man, mainly Europeans, are under the impression that they're God and God doesn't exist, and whatever you want to do on this earth you can do without the help or the inspiration of God. So there's no guidelines, there's no boundaries. And in the case of that ship, because of greed and fame and fortune, man, mainly Edomites, that's who was on that boat mainly, they have no bounds and no guidelines as far as righteousness and as far as balance. So they're going to seek after fame, fortune, and recognition. And we have taken on those same attributes, so-called Negroes and Hispanics. We have taken on those same wicked attributes. And, we become in a place where our enemies have their foot on our neck. But the Most High is telling us right here, he will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness, for by strength shall no man prevail. So man's strength has become his God. He thinks he's God, but the Lord is saying right here, for by strength no man shall prevail. And that includes strength and wickedness of power that's being used against us. The Most High let that go because of our evil. But now we're coming to the point where this world is being judged heavier and harder every day that goes by. That's the time we're in now. 10 verses, the adversaries of the Lord shall be broken to pieces. Out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. The Lord shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. So we're going to get that power back. But the reason I'm reading this is to show you that death, suffering, power is all in the hands of the Most High. Proof of that is when you read a couple of verses up, the Most High says he exalted the poor and he brings down men to a lower state as well. But the point I'm trying to show you is that the power is in the Most High, and man, mainly the white man, has put himself in a position where he thinks he's above the Most High, where the Most High doesn't exist. So, things like these that we see in the news, things that's happening in the news, these are examples of how the Most High, he rules supreme and his judgment stands. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So the next time you see a tragedy like this, or you see anything happen on this earth, know that all power is of the Most High. I'm out.